Hello, welcome to Human Design Center. I'm glad that we share a common interest in human design, the science of differentiation, the art of living your life according to your unique design and genetic matrix that sustains it. Today you are going to learn or recap, as the case may be, about Hexagram 17, following, opinion. The ancient law that those who wish to rule must know how to serve. Hexagram 17 is part of first trimester of ALCIONE, where we accomplish our purpose through mind, initiation, thinking, thoughts. Gate 17 corresponds to God Michael, building the angelic mind. Michael is the core of the mind's programming, the separation and comparison of light or good versus dark or bad. The Michael archetype embodies God's messenger with his sword of truth. Here, mind brings moral laws that determine good and evil, separating matter and exalting spirit. The Godhead Michael is one of these divine archetypes, representing strength, leadership, protection, and divine order. It is linked to the Archangel Michael, a powerful warrior angel often seen as the defender of truth and justice. Zodiac sign, Aries. Gate 17 flows within the collective logic circuit, which is about future, sharing, understanding, projecting into the future, visualizing, patterns, focused. Keyword, sharing. Center, ajna, the mind center that is our cognitive awareness center, from ideas to concepts. Ajna center is about conceptualizing, processing, interpreting, or giving answers as options, concepts, or theories. The harmonic gate is number 62, preponderance of the small details. Caution, patience, and detail produce excellence out of limitation. With this gate, 17 forms the projected channel 1762, acceptance, a design of an organizational being. This channel is about combining the ability to see patterns and ideas logically with the ability to communicate them clearly. You have the gift of seeing how things work and breaking down complex concepts into understandable, structured information that helps others grasp the details. The opposite gate is number 18, work on what has been spoilt. Correction, aminoacid, arginine, relevant organ, pituitary gland, tarot card associated 9 of coins. Gate 17, in first trimester, in Michael, forms the channel with gate 62, located in the second trimester of Dubhe, civilization and form, connecting to Mayat archetype. This way, aminoacid arginine associated with gate 17 communicates with aminoacid tyrosine of gate 62. It is relevant for the value and functioning of this gate to observe that aminoacid arginine is the same in all of the gates of Michael, 25, 17, 21, 51. The first 4 lines of all 4 gates are identical. They differentiate in the 5th and 6th line of each of these 4 hexagrams. Regarding arginine, we have to observe that there are 6 gates that share the same amino acid. 4 gates in the first trimester, 25, 17, 21, 51, gates of Michael, and also gate 10 and 38 in the 4th trimester, both belonging to Vishnu. So arginine is helping us to accomplish the purpose through mind and initiation, and also through mutation and spirit. When you see arginine in a body graph, you might think of the possibility of, let's say, transferred behavior, meaning a person might have 17th gate activated but behaving like a 21, or a 10 behaving like 38th gate. We talk about the not self, obviously. Just meditate about this. If we balance the problems of our life regarding our opinions and acceptance capacity, gate 17, or in relation with the behavior of self, gate 10, or regarding control, gate 21, is it possible to get to balance the amino acids in our body? And, as a consequence, can we balance our health? How this balance can be obtained? maybe in first trimester through thinking, by changing a mindset, and in the fourth trimester, by taking care about our spirit, accepting mutation, paying attention to the state of spirit, behaving in resonance to our real state of spirit, to our real self. L-arginine is an amino acid that helps the body build protein. Your body usually makes all the L-arginine it needs. It is also found in most protein-rich foods, including fish, red meat, poultry, soy, whole grains, beans, and dairy products. Most healthy people do not need to supplement with arginine because it is a component of all protein-containing foods and can be synthesized in the body from glutamine via citrulline. Arginine is made by the body as follows. The epithelial cells of the small intestine produce citrulline, primarily from glutamine and glutamate, which is secreted into the bloodstream, which carries it to the proximal cells of the kidney, which extract the citrulline and convert it to arginine, which is returned to the blood. This means that impairment of kidney function or small intestine can reduce arginine synthesis and thus create a dietary requirement for arginine. For such a person, arginine would become essential. Arginine plays an important role in cell division, wound healing, removing ammonia from the body, immune function, and the release of hormones. It is a precursor for the synthesis of nitric oxide, making it important in the regulation of blood pressure. Arginine is necessary for T cells to function in the body and can lead to their deregulation if depleted. So, besides observing the transferred behavior that I talked about earlier, it will be very interesting if you connect arginine together with the 6 gates that are related to it, with the gates which are relevant for glutamine, gates 13 and 30, for T cells, gate 26, and even with the gates relevant for serine, since arginine in 10th gate, the same amino acid as for gate 17, is opposing serine in the 15th gate. Your conclusions will be a pleasant surprise. I do not include my personal opinions on this here, since it's not part of human design. The original knowledge that I want, keep it unaltered. So since we've located the gate on the mandala and on the body graph, and we have a general summary of the essential characteristics of gate 17, now let's dive into the 17th gate message and energy. We move over to the logic process, and we come to the 17th gate. The first thing to recognize is that exactly opposite the 17th gate is the 18th gate. They are opposite each other in the zodiac, and they are both in the same circuitry. They both belong to the logic process, and they represent a deep link to each other. There is a very important capacity that lies within the 17th gate. The nature of this gate is the future for us. What human design is teaching you in terms of wave resonance, it is not for our time. Ra Uruhu say that, I quote, "This is the time of planting a seed. It is a time of getting people to recognize that this kind of knowledge is available to anyone. The nature of this knowledge is so that humanity can be properly organized. We can be organized in a way that we can't possibly imagine now because it will be a natural process. Rather than education beginning with belief, education can begin with true knowledge, the logical understanding of the nature of what it is to be human, one's place in the world, and where one belongs. Ra worked on writing the Global Incarnation Index for so many years. This index is now finished. It outlines every possible incarnation that is available to humanity, and it describes it in detail as any index does. He thought that the nature of what the mystics call the Akashic records is that everybody will be able to see at some point where they fit in. It was not for that time, before year 2000, but maybe it is for this time since, as he said, this index, it will be for a time when this knowledge permeates the world. I think there is a lot of human design knowledge shared into the world at this moment, year 2025. I think that time already started, and it is the time for people to be able to see exactly where they belong and exactly who belongs with them. So the thing to recognize about the nature of the Aquarian age is that there is a movement from the Piscean teacher, 11.4, to the Aquarian teacher who is symbolized by the 17, the fourth line. This fourth line of 17th gate is the personnel manager, the organizer. Gate 17, located in the Ajna Center, is part of the understanding circuit, logic, in human design. It is known as the gate of opinions because it is responsible for forming and sharing logical perspectives. However, these opinions are not absolute truths. They are hypotheses that require testing and validation. Hexagram 17, in the I Ching, following, it represents the natural progression of logic, where opinions are developed and then tested over time. It's about opinions, not facts. People with Gate 17 see patterns and form opinions based on logic and past experiences. These opinions require proof. They are meant to be tested, not blindly accepted. Someone with Gate 17 might analyze trends and say, based on what I've seen, this is what might happen next. Since the ajna is not a motor center, opinions need others to validate and act upon them. Without the full channel 1762, acceptance, the channel of organization, opinions may lack clarity or impact. Some people are naturally receptive to Gate 17's logic, while others may resist it. The lesson for those with this gate is learning when and how to share opinions without forcing them on others. Gate 17 thrives when it can observe patterns, test ideas, and refine perspectives. It's part of the collective circuit, meaning the goal is to benefit the whole by refining logical thinking. In relationships and communication, Gate 17 is great at analyzing patterns and offering structured opinions. It can organize information logically and share it in a way others can understand, and also it can help others see possibilities and plan ahead. They might also face a specific type of challenges, such as they can come across as opinionated or critical if not invited to share. They need patience, since not all opinions will be accepted immediately. Without Gate 62, the gate of details, may struggle with communicating details clearly. If you have the full 1762 channel, you can express opinions concisely and influence others effectively. Gate 17 in different lines, also under profile influence, adds a unique expression for each line to how opinions are formed and shared. Line 1, openness to new ideas. When it's exalted, there is humble acceptance of differing opinions. But in detriment is about stubbornness, refusing to acknowledge new perspectives. Line 2, a natural authority, which is expressed differently when exalted or in detriment. Exaltation brings the ability to express logic in a way that earns respect. Detriment is about the one that can be dismissive of others' ideas. Line 3 is testing opinions from a very different perspective between exaltation and detriment. An exalted line 3 brings willingness to experiment and refine logic. Detriment may struggle with uncertainty, always questioning beliefs. Line 4 is about teaching through logic. Can clearly explain logical patterns to others when there is exaltation. In detriment, it may impose opinions on others without invitation. Line 5 is about practical application of opinions. In exaltation, it finds real-world uses for logical insights. Detriment create those circumstances when Gate 17 may become too rigid in thinking, rejecting alternative viewpoints. Line 6, with its visionary thinking, sees the bigger picture, offering wisdom based on logic. That's the exaltation. When it becomes detached, losing touch with practical application, for sure it's a detrimental line. We know that each gate has a dualistic expression. It's either this or not. For this gate, on one side there is a wisdom expression of it, such as learning to offer opinions only when invited, recognizing that opinions evolve with new information, using logic to guide and help others rather than control. It's equally important to recognize the other side, the or not side of 17th gate, the shadow expression. Being overly opinionated or pushing views on others, relying on opinions without evidence or testing, dismissing other perspectives too quickly. Gate 17 is a great gate for the benefit of so many careers, such as analysts, scientists, strategists, those who study patterns and predict outcomes, teachers, coaches, thought leaders, sharing logical frameworks for others to understand, writers, communicators, critics, expressing and organizing ideas for a broader audience. Based on what I've already told you here, recognize about the 17th gate that it has enormous significance for us, because this is the teaching of the future, which has to be deeply rooted in the understanding that is of value to human rights, the relationship to the 18th gate at the other end. Every single individual has to be emancipated, not simply that we emancipate races and gender, but we emancipate the individual, and we can only do that when the individual recognizes its own nature and has its place in the world. Gate 17 has the capacity to organize us, the whole humanity. Maybe it's time for this gate to serve, teach, and educate the world, together with the energy of the channel formed with 62nd gate. A classic example for 17th gate is Osho. He was a classic channel 1762, but the reality is that organization cannot take place until understanding takes place, and the understanding of this process leads to the 62nd gate, which is the gate of the Maya. It is the gate of establishing all the names. By the time that we truly understand the nature of the mechanics of the universe, when our understanding is complete in terms of what is essential to understand, that is the moment that we can begin organizing. Up until that point, we can see that not all understanding of this channel serves fundamental human rights. It's a real fact in our lives that a great deal of collective understanding is detrimental to fundamental human rights. The nature of 17th gate is the ancient law that those who wish to rule must first know how to serve. It means that understanding must be of service. Only then will it lead to rule. Will it lead to the power that the understanding can bring? Logical process is always trying to establish for us a pattern that we can trust and move with into the future. Ra Uru Hu said that, I quote, "It is a very important pattern for us and for all human beings who are deeply concerned. We see that in integration at the most primary level. There is this fear of what tomorrow will bring. Being of service is the need to be able to logically understand that the pattern is secure and that tomorrow will be secure. If understanding is not of service to humanity in that way, then the understanding can be detrimental. In other words, we have been promised many times by our logical leadership that the pattern will secure us into the future, only to discover that it did exactly the opposite. So it is something to be aware of. It can also be the devil's law, not just simply God's law. I hope this quote clarified the specific duality of Gate 17. Gate 17 in the human design system points us in the right direction, or not. Remember the theme of the archetypal energy of Michael, where this gate belongs, or go back and listen again the very few minutes in the beginning of this material. When you read a chart, the final touch of the reading becomes very interesting by adding the message of the deity that rules the gate. Here, having Michael as archetypal theme, it influences people with gates 17 and 21 to feel called to lead, structure society, or defend what is right. Gate 17 is about looking into the future and deciding how you're going to set up your life and get some to date. The moment it gets stuck in dogma, the moment it gets codified into a rule system, the whole thing starts to break down. What is very important in your life, as an individual, is that you're clear in the opinions you adopt in life. Are they directed toward the benefit and the well-being of all? Or are you stuck in a particular point of view? Are you prepared to move forward? Because this is your nature. Speaking of your nature, let's have a brief summary for Gate 17. Remember that Gate 17 communicates with precision. You have a talent for explaining things clearly, especially when it comes to logical or detailed information. Whether through speaking or writing, you're able to take abstract concepts and translate them into precise language that people can easily understand and apply. It improves systems and processes. Your ability to see how things could work more efficiently or effectively makes you a natural problem solver. You're able to look at systems, whether personal, societal, or technical, and offer improvements or refinements that make things run more smoothly. It forms logical opinions based on patterns and needs validation and clarity. Gate 62 helps express details. It is best when invited to share, rather than imposing or forcing ideas, being recognized for its role of refining logic for the collective good. Invitation and recognition will make your life easier. Disregard of your type, since 1762 is a projected channel. Understanding of this gate has to be refined, walking through the 6 lines of the gate 17. It's a process that will bring clarity to you in relation to nuances of the content and expression of the 17th gate, especially when we'll make the difference between exaltation and detriment. At the end, we will touch upon the crosses of incarnation, where gate 17 plays its role for the conscious sun, becoming part of the purpose of life. Let's see the 6 stages of development of this energy and possible dualism in its manifestation. Gate 17, line 1, openness. Line 1, known as openness, represents a foundational and investigative approach to logic and opinions. This line is about being open to new information, seeking knowledge, and forming solid logical opinions. It represents a student's mindset. Before an opinion can be expressed, it must be thoroughly researched and understood. This hexagram speaks about the natural progression of logic and learning, and the first line emphasizes being receptive to guidance and wisdom rather than blindly imposing one's opinions. It teaches that true leadership comes from first following and understanding logical structures before sharing or leading with one's own ideas. Strong expression of this line is about openness to challenge assumptions and listen to new perspectives. When operating at its highest level, this energy seeks truth over stubborn beliefs. A person with this placement is willing to question, investigate, and refine their opinions based on evidence. It indicates a humble and patient thinker who values logic over personal bias. As a real-life example, it's about a researcher or scientist who is open to testing hypotheses and adjusting their views when new data emerges. The weakened expression is about stubbornness, refusing to acknowledge new perspectives. In its shadow state, this energy can become rigid, dogmatic, and dismissive of alternative viewpoints. There may be a tendency to cling to personal opinions, resisting input from others, even when faced with strong evidence. This person may have a hard time adapting to new information, preferring to stick with what feels familiar. As an example, this is someone who insists they are always right and refuses to listen to logical counter-arguments. In a short summary for Gate 17, Line 1, openness, you have to remember that represents a student-like approach to logic and opinions, seeks truth through investigation and research. At its best, humble and open-minded. At its worst, stubborn and resistant to new information, the message is that true wisdom comes from questioning and refining one's own beliefs. Now, let's see the exaltation and detriment. Mars is exalted in this line, and it's about the energy to sustain a broad spectrum of stimuli. When you are talking about the first line, you are talking about the true nature of the hexagram. The exalted is about the possibility of having many opinions. That is the nature of this gate. There are many opinions to have. After all, everything that has a name, everything in your vocabulary, you have an opinion attached to it. Otherwise, you could not have that name in your vocabulary because it comes out of opinion. So we have loads of opinions. The 17.1 is full of all of these opinions. This line is about openness to ideas, perspectives, and stimuli. leading to the formation of many different opinions. The influence of Mars brings energy, curiosity, and an active mind that continuously absorbs and analyzes information. People with this activation have a wide-ranging curiosity and the ability to hold multiple viewpoints at once. They may shift between different perspectives until they refine what they believe to be the most logical or correct opinion. Mars represents action, drive, and exploration. In exaltation, it amplifies the mental activity of gate 17, making the person highly receptive to diverse information sources. It is about mental agility, can process a lot of information at once and explore multiple opinions without being stuck in one mindset. Dynamic thinking, may frequently change opinions as new evidence emerges, adapting quickly. Expansive curiosity, interested in a wide range of topics, science, philosophy, politics, etc. An appropriate example would be a debater or journalist who constantly evaluates different viewpoints before forming a well-structured opinion, or a scientist who experiments with different hypotheses before arriving at a conclusion. The other side of Mars in Gate 17, line 1, is mental restlessness and an inability to settle on a single opinion. There can be too much openness, leading to confusion, contradiction, or a lack of confidence in one's own conclusions. If you have this position in your body graph, there are some potential pitfalls to recognize. Jumping from one opinion to another without forming a solid foundation. Difficulty committing to a particular belief or viewpoint. Becoming overwhelmed by too many perspectives, leading to mental exhaustion. Think about someone who constantly shifts between different political or philosophical viewpoints, but struggles to settle on a core belief system. Venus in detriment. A tendency to limit openness to aesthetically pleasing stimuli. Both exaltation and detriment are about the capacity to always have opinions. This is a very opinionated line. The other side is the possibility to limit opinions to what is pleasing. These people have opinions about what they like to have opinions about. Things that they are not interested in, they don't have opinions about, or they do not tell you about them. In other words, their opinions are about things they like to have opinions about. These people, for example, have opinions about art. That is what they love to have opinions about. They have no opinion about politics. They are very much locked into that because that is what pleases them. They want to have a critical capacity only when it comes to art. The 17 is opposite the 18th gate. It is full of challenging authority. It is full of criticism. These are the opinions that are attached to every name. The 17th gate entails a built-in experimentation that is taking place within about the value that any name has. When Venus is in detriment, it brings a selective or biased approach to opinions, favoring only what is harmonious, pleasant, or aesthetically acceptable, while rejecting uncomfortable truths or harsh realities. It's about filtering opinions through beauty, harmony, or social acceptance, ignoring or dismissing unpleasant information, seeking comfort in familiar, pleasant viewpoints, preferring logic that aligns with personal taste or cultural norms. Venus, here in detriment, can create a bias toward pleasing, socially acceptable, or aesthetically refined ideas, limiting intellectual openness. It's something like this: prefers opinions that align with beauty, harmony, or elegance, rather than pure logic. Ignores harsh facts because they feel too disruptive, unattractive, or uncomfortable. Filters knowledge through subjective preferences rather than objective truth. We have here the example of someone who dismisses a difficult political or scientific reality because it's too ugly, disturbing, or emotionally unpleasant. Or as fashion or design critic who bases their opinions primarily on aesthetics rather than deeper meaning or function. With Venus here in this line, there are some challenges one should recognize, since limiting intellectual openness to only what is pleasing or socially acceptable can create blind spots in thinking. This can result in overly subjective, surface-level opinions rather than a deep and structured understanding of reality. A person with this detriment would rather prefer nice-sounding or beautiful ideas over deeper, sometimes uncomfortable truths. They avoid intellectual discomfort by ignoring logic that contradicts personal taste or emotional comfort. It's also about a certain level of social conformity by limiting opinions to what is culturally or socially favored rather than exploring independent viewpoints. As an example, maybe you know someone who only accepts spiritual teachings that feel high vibrational and refuses to explore the shadow aspects of growth. That person fits into detrimental Venus of this first line in Gate 17. Gate 17, line 2, discrimination. The benefit of associations based on the highest values, or the benefit OS association based on the limitations of practical experience. Gate 17 is the gate of opinions, responsible for forming logical perspectives and recognizing patterns. Line 2, with its discriminatory energy, introduces the ability to discern which opinions are valuable and which are not, based on real-world experience. This line is about choosing carefully whom to listen to and what opinions to adopt. Unlike line 1, which is open to all information, line 2 seeks practical wisdom, preferring logical viewpoints that have been tested and proven useful in reality. That is the core meaning of this second line, also to be analyzed. That we come to projection here in this line that is called discrimination. The benefit of associations based on highest values. This line, and the whole hexagram, is always about two things. Is one serving, or is one trying to rule? Is one serving one opinion, which means that somebody asks you, or the situation asks you, are you trying to rule and to impose your opinion? Are you trying to rule with your understanding? This is always the dynamic tension that exists within this hexagram between serving and ruling. Here you have the classic in the projection, and as you will see, by the time we get to the fifth line, it becomes something quite special. It becomes no human is an island. It becomes something very important to understand in our nature. In the second line, we have the beginning of this process that we'll see in the fifth line. There is a specific theme for line 2, such as learning from experience. This is why this line is selective in opinions, does not accept every viewpoint. It filters ideas based on practicality and real-world effectiveness, values proven wisdom, prefers knowledge that comes from experience, logic, and evidence, rather than speculation, may distrust pure theory. Ideas that are too abstract, idealistic, or untested are likely to be rejected. Take the example of a business strategist who only takes advice from successful entrepreneurs, not from people with just theories. Or the example of the scientist who values experiments over speculation. Let's take a look at exaltation and detriment of this line. Sun exalted, the successful achievement of purpose through proper alignment. Proper alignment, in this case, is the possibility to develop opinions through relationships. Somebody says to you, "What do you think?" Then you can project. If nobody asks you what you think, you can't project. That is proper alignment or not. Exaltation brings wisdom through practical experience, the possibility to develop opinions based on first-hand experiences. People with Gate 17, line 2, exalted sun, are open-minded but selective, can absorb knowledge but apply strict filters. They only trust what has been tested in reality, respects proven expertise, prefers learning from people who have walked the path, not just theorized about it, builds credibility, becomes a respected opinion leader because of real-world tested perspectives. Some relevant examples of this placement would be a teacher who only teaches what they have personally applied and seen work, a mentor who advises based on real-life experience, not just book knowledge, When you come to the other side of this, you have the moon in detriment, an overactive discrimination that leaves one virtually alone. The possibility of being opinionated at the expense of relationships. This is trying to rule. This is the other side, the side that cannot wait to be asked. They have to project it outwards. In the moment of projection, they are trying to rule with their understanding. They may be right. There is no moral judgment to the fact that they operate through their polarity. Both sides can be right or wrong, but the nature of the way in which it works is that they are always trying to rule with their understanding. This detriment can bring the risk of closed-mindedness. The downside of being too selective is rejecting ideas too quickly. With this placement, there is a real risk of overly rigid thinking, meaning they will only believe what is personally experienced and will ignore useful insights from others. The detriment can shape specific behaviors, such as too skeptical, might dismiss valid theories or new perspectives just because they haven't been tested yet. Misses out on innovation, prefers old, proven methods over new, untested possibilities. Resistant to fresh ideas. If something doesn't match past experience, it may be rejected without full consideration. A relevant example is the doctor who refuses to try new treatments because they weren't common in medical school. Or a business person who ignores new technology trends because they haven't personally worked with them yet. Getting R of the specific area of exaltation and detriment. If we want to summarize some basic traits of this second line, remember that they manifest as their strength, sharp judgment, knowing which opinions are worth trusting. There is a balance needed here. They must stay open to new knowledge, even if it isn't yet proven. They learn the lesson that wisdom comes from both experience and openness to new possibilities. This is a collective circuitry gate. It is about sharing. Here is what Ra-Uru says about this line. Aikut. One can only rule when they serve, which means that you have to be asked first. This is the tension that exists in the 17th hexagram. It is much easier for people who have the 17 without the 62. The 17 without the 62, by the very circumstance of not having the whole channel, has to wait for that opportunity to be asked, or the opportunity that the situation asks them because suddenly it is activated. It is very different when you are dealing with the 1762. Like the 4323, it can become an automatic loose cannon. It just blurts out, and the understanding is imposed on somebody else. They may not like that. It may be right or wrong. Gate 17, line 3, understanding. When you get to the top of the lower trigram, there is the theme of adaptation, the line of bonds made and broken, of irresponsibility. It is called understanding. The awareness that the best road is not necessarily the most interesting. The best road for any opinion is towards detail. That is what is meant here. The only thing that makes an opinion worthwhile is if it is substantiated by appropriate detail. The third line in any gate brings also themes of trial and error and learning through experience. It often involves instability before reaching clarity. In the case of gate 17.3, the key theme is understanding, learning to discern the value of an opinion and recognizing when an opinion is either helpful or premature. There is a lot of skepticism and learning through mistakes. This line often questions its own opinions and perspectives. It does not blindly accept logic, but instead refines understanding through real-world experience. There can be an experimental nature, testing different viewpoints and sometimes struggling with uncertainty before reaching clarity. They have this need for practical validation. Unlike earlier lines that may express opinions freely, the third line needs real-world proof to feel confident in its opinions. If an opinion does not hold up under scrutiny, there is a tendency to discard it and search for a more solid foundation. Another important aspect is that third line might be cautious in sharing opinions. Because of the trial and error nature, those with gate 17.3 may hesitate to share their opinions unless they feel strongly validated by experience. There can be a fear of being wrong, but when they develop true understanding, their insights become deeply valuable. There are potential challenges to be confronted with. O. A tendency to doubt one's own thinking, leading to hesitation in speaking up. O. The possibility of frustration if others reject or misunderstand the refinement process. O. May feel pressure to form opinions quickly when not yet fully certain. In real life, if you have gate 17, line 3 active, you might notice that your opinions evolve over time rather than being rigid. You learn best through real-world testing. You don't just accept theories at face value. Your ability to adapt and refine opinions can make you a great problem solver, helping others gain deeper insights. Over time, this line can develop a strong, well-earned confidence in its opinions, based on direct experience rather than just theory. Behavior, if this line is for sure impacted by exaltation or by detriment. Pluto exalted. The following of the best road provides the experience necessary to meet the challenge of the road's end. In the Book of Letters, the understanding that the best opinions are grounded in detail. Opinions need to be substantiated, otherwise experimentation will never take place. Remember the difficulty of the logic process to find energy. Only the best opinion has a chance to get and attract that energy. If there are any loopholes, they will always come up in the experimentation. Pluto represents transformation, deep truth, and evolution. Wherever Pluto is placed in a chart, it demands profound growth, often through challenges and breakthroughs. With Pluto exalted in gate 17, line 3, the lesson is deep experiential understanding, not just forming opinions but grounding them in reality and detail. You are not satisfied with surface-level ideas. You must test and verify before reaching true certainty. The following of the best road provides the experience necessary to meet the challenge of the road's end. This suggests that understanding is a journey. You cannot skip steps. You must walk the path, experience the process, and refine your perspective as you go. Opinions formed too early or without enough experience will likely change or be discarded. There is a commitment to wisdom through experience, meaning that by the end of the road, you will have a well-earned, tested, and reliable understanding. We have another text to analyze for Pluto exalted, the understanding that the best opinions are grounded in detail. Pluto demands depth, so opinions cannot be vague or unfounded. You are naturally skeptical of unsupported ideas and will search for proof, precision, and detailed knowledge. The transformation comes from learning to trust the refinement process, knowing that only well-tested perspectives truly hold weight. With Pluto exalted, you can become a master of precision in thinking, seeing flaws in logic, and improving collective understanding. You are naturally drawn to uncover deeper truths through analysis and detail. With time, your opinions become powerful and transformative, influencing others in meaningful ways. There are also some challenges that may arise, such as frustration, if forced to adopt opinions too quickly, a tendency to doubt your own thinking until it is thoroughly tested, the risk of rejecting new perspectives too soon if they don't fit the details you currently understand. With Pluto exalted in gate 17.3, your life's journey involves transforming opinions into wisdom through personal experience and meticulous analysis. Your ultimate gift is offering refined, well-tested insights that can stand the test of time. The earth and detriment, the taking of shortcuts. One may get to the end quicker, but essential experience will be missing. The possibility of skipping details and limiting the value of the opinion. I quote that Ra Uruhu said about this detriment. The fact is that every time an opinion does not have enough detail, there is always going to be somebody out there, I call them the moneylenders, that says, well, you'd better go back to the committee room because we are not ready to invest yet in that experiment because we noticed that you did not have Form GM 3479 done, and you have to get that form done before we can even consider it. You have to have all of the details. The earth in detriment brings the challenge of shortcuts, the taking of shortcuts. One may get to the end quicker, but essential experience will be missing. This means there is pressure to rush understanding, leading to incomplete or premature opinions. Instead of refining logic through full experience, there's a temptation to jump ahead, assuming conclusions without validating them. Now, another line: the possibility of skipping details and limiting the value of the opinion. Skipping steps leads to flawed conclusions. The logic may seem sound, but essential details are overlooked. This creates shallow or incomplete opinions that lack true depth and credibility. The lesson here is that wisdom cannot be rushed. Every step in the process adds necessary layers of understanding. Ra often spoke about how third lines bump into things. They learn through trial and error. But with the earth in detriment, we saw that this trial and error process gets interrupted because of impatience. Instead of allowing mistakes to shape a deeper opinion, there's a desire to skip the messiness of learning. This is a line that doesn't want to take its time. It wants to get to the end, to the conclusion, but in doing so, it sacrifices the very process that gives an opinion its value. When thinking how this plays out in life, you can remember this: rushed conclusions because of feeling certain before all the details are in place. Frustration when opinions don't hold up under scrutiny because essential steps were skipped. Lack of depth, struggling to see why others don't trust or value the opinion. To counteract this, there is a path to mastery for this line, but patience is key. The greatest strength of 17.3 is learning through experience, but only when all the steps are taken. If you slow down and allow every stage of learning to unfold, your opinions become deeply insightful and highly respected. Gate 17, line 4, the personnel manager. Getting to the upper trigram, we meet the externalization theme of the fourth line, which is the basic theme to understand anything about this line in any gate. Line 4, the personnel manager moves beyond personal trial and error, line 3, and steps into a more influential role. The fourth line is about relationships, influence, and externalizing knowledge. Here, opinions aren't just personal thoughts, they become tools for guiding others. It is a one-track process, but it is the mirror image of the teacher on the abstract side that we looked at. I've mentioned earlier that what we are looking at is the Aquarian potential to the Piscean teacher on the abstract side. Here it is called the personnel manager. This is the line containing the ability to organize and manage groups of people based on logical reasoning. There is an innate talent for assessing others and assigning roles that suit their skills. With its natural authority in opinions, meaning others may look to this person for direction or validation. Pay attention to the challenge of learning when to share opinions wisely, as unsolicited opinions may create resistance. In leadership or management, someone with this placement might excel in HR, coaching, or leadership roles where they are responsible for structuring teams, guiding decisions, and ensuring that people are in the right positions. In everyday conversations, this person might often offer opinions about how things could be improved, especially in group settings. If well received, they can be a trusted advisor. If not, they may come across as overly opinionated. Remember that 17 is part of a projected channel, so you need recognition and invitation for releasing opinions, but only your authority and strategy will give you proper guidance when to offer, if you offer opinions. Neither recognition nor invitation is compelling by itself. Since this gate is about opinions, it is important for a 17.4 to wait for the right timing to share insights. Otherwise, their ideas might be dismissed, even if they are correct, or they will struggle with resistance from others who don't like being told what to do. Line 4 tends to think in a structured and logical way, preferring solutions that are provable and efficient rather than emotionally driven. That's the nature of their decision-making process. As a conclusion, before diving into the exaltation and detriment of this line, you have to remember that Gate 17, line 4, brings a managerial and guiding energy. If harnessed correctly, it allows for logical structuring of groups and clear direction. The key to success lies in sharing opinions at the right time and in the right way, ensuring that their insights contribute constructively rather than feeling like control. Pluto exalted loves being in this line where it has the abilities to be the deep investigator, the ability to probe and discover the underlying motivation and resources of those who wish to follow. Pluto is the planet of deep transformation, truth-seeking, and hidden power. When exalted in Gate 17.4, it brings a profound ability to see beyond surface-level appearances. This person isn't just sharing opinions, they are examining people, identifying strengths, and figuring out what drives them. This is a powerful managerial and leadership trait. This is someone who doesn't just lead with opinions, they probe. They see who's worthy, who's valuable, who's got the potential. They don't just share an opinion, they evaluate who can handle it and who can't. This line operates through some innate abilities. A talent for understanding people, since you naturally recognize the motivations of others and can assess who is capable of following a logical structure. Your strategic influence, based on your ability to see people clearly, means you know who to align with and who to avoid. Leadership through logic, because you don't just throw out opinions randomly. You assess the group and structure ideas in a way that can be followed effectively. There is also another side that this can play out. If your abilities are not externalized according to the principle of serving before ruling, or you use your abilities just for yourself, for controlling, manipulating, judging, and so on. If your probing ability is used unconsciously, it can become a tool for control, for selecting followers for personal benefit rather than collective growth. The ability to assess people's motivations can lead to overly rigid opinions about them, limiting their potential, resulting in harsh judgment. With your specific managerial vision, there may be pressure to always be right or to carry the weight of others' growth. Remember what Ra-Uru-Hu said about this line? I quote, "Here we find the gift to be able to really understand others. One cannot rule until one understands others. It is essential because to rule means that you must serve the other. That is the nature of ruling. That is why the Chinese had this tradition of the superior man as a ruler. This superior man served as a ruler. He served the interest of the people above and beyond his own interest. This is the nature of true service, as a ruler being the one who serves." With Pluto exalted in 17.4, you are here to see deeply into others, not just their actions, but their motivations and potential. When used wisely, this refined ability to evaluate people allows you to guide, lead, and influence in ways that truly impact the collective mind. Jupiter in detriment. The over-generous and often misguided acceptance of would-be followers, often with disastrous results. The personnel manager has the gift of being able to say, "Here's the pattern, and here is where you fit in, because I understand what you need." Given the nature of ignorance in the world, this can be a very frightening thing in the way in which it actually gets applied, and there are an enormous number of people that get manipulated this way. Or, there are a lot of people that do no fit into that pattern. This detriment can attract the wrong people to follow a structured opinion, since Jupiter is generous and might not make a proper selection of these people. In the Book of Letters, the possibility of opinions based on the understanding of others. I understand how this works, and I understand how it works for you, and in that I can serve you. The other side is Jupiter in detriment, the possibility of opinions attracting others. This is really a capacity to attract others and bring them to an order, to a pattern. This is the design of an organizational being, so this is all about order. Jupiter in detriment, as the pitfall of misguided generosity. As it says, I repeat, the overgenerous and often misguided acceptance of would-be followers, often with disastrous results. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, optimism, and abundance, in detriment here means too much trust, too much generosity, and a failure to assess people properly. Instead of carefully selecting the right people to follow a structured opinion, this version of 17.4 lets in anyone and everyone, regardless of their true motivation or ability to contribute. This is the kind of manager who lets in anyone who smiles at them. Come on in, join us, follow my opinion. But here's the problem. Some of those people, they have no business being there. And when you bring in the wrong people, when you let people follow without testing their capacity, you get chaos. You get collapse. So, with this line, through Jupiter in detriment, you may trust too easily, allowing unqualified or uncommitted people to follow your logic. Instead of deeply probing, as in Pluto exalted, there's an assumption that everyone deserves a chance, which leads to problems when those people don't have what it takes. When unqualified people follow a system or opinion, things break down, whether in leadership, business, or personal life. You must assess people properly before giving them access to structured guidance. This isn't about being closed off, but about being responsible for the collective mind. This isn't about rejecting people, it's about knowing who belongs. Not everyone is meant to follow your opinions. If you let in the wrong people, your whole structure collapses. Being responsible also means that you don't attract followers in order to manipulate them, to fit in your pattern no matter what. Ra-Uru explained that, I quote, "Everything about the mental logic process is figuring out how to get everybody to fit into a cubbyhole, something everybody hates. One of the ironies for me is that the ability to see where everybody fits in, which is the capacity that lies within this knowledge, would be in many ways deeply offensive to a great number of humanity in the sense that it would appear to be manipulation, which it is not. It can only come at a time when people really understand from a very early point. This is a strong manipulative field, bringing people to understanding through the ability to externalize that. But it is a very fixed understanding. This is not universal understanding. This is just externalization. It is trying to get your opinion across, and it is a gift of attracting people to your opinion. It is very common to see that in politics, for example, when you have a one-opinion candidate, a one-opinion politician, he or she says, "I understand that this is bad," and then it comes to work for attracting everybody to that one opinion. They get very fixed in that. Gate 17, line 5, no man is an island. The recognition, however understood, that there is no end to hierarchies. The essence of line 5 is outreach, influence, and the sharing of ideas with others. There is an inherent recognition that opinions and insights are most effective when shared. They don't exist in a vacuum. This line is about how opinions transcend individual experience and grow through being tested and interacted with by others. Line 5 is the one who steps out with their opinions into the world. It's the line that knows no one can truly develop on their own. If you isolate yourself with your ideas, they don't matter. You need other people to validate, challenge, and expand upon them. In understanding the nature of this line, we have to observe its resonance to the 18.5, which is its opposition. The 18.5 is the line of therapy. On one side, the capacity to both seek and provide guidance, and on the other side, chronic instability and the mental patient. Here, you find the mirror of this. This is an important mirror because what the 18.5 talks about is the inability to do it alone, and 17.5 is the line of no human is an island. The recognition, however understood, that there is no end to hierarchies. This line is about externalizing ideas. It isn't content keeping opinions to itself. It has a deep desire to share, teach, and externalize what has been learned. It understands that true value comes from how others respond to and engage with the ideas being shared. This makes the line very interactive, always seeking a feedback loop to refine its thoughts. The idea here is that when someone with line 5 shares an opinion or insight, it is often meant for a wider audience. It's not about self-validation, but about contributing to something larger, about universal appeal. While externalizing, line 5 might deal with some challenges. Because line 5 is so focused on externalizing ideas, there is often a projection field. Others might project their expectations, hopes, or needs onto you, assuming your opinions or ideas are what they want to hear. This can lead to misunderstandings or disappointment if the response is not what was expected. Sharing ideas with the world means not everyone will agree. There may be a fear of rejection or criticism when your opinions are not accepted or you are misunderstood. If the opinions are not well received or understood, there can be a sense of isolation, as the ideas may feel disconnected from the world around you. You can overcome those challenges, use the power of line 5, the power and the magic that lies within the sharing of opinions, and how this sharing is meant to enrich the collective. Line 5 of Gate 17 enjoys the awareness of their own truth. That personal knowledge and insight only reach their full potential when they can be spread, tested, and expanded upon by others. This is the line of influence and integration. If it's in your chart, embrace it. Expand its power and magic, since this line honors our humanness. This line is really happy that human being is not alone, that they can serve the human being. As a final thought, before exaltation and detriment, I would emphasize that line 5 isn't about hoarding wisdom. It's about putting it into the world and seeing how it grows through interaction. No man is an island means that wisdom and knowledge are only powerful when they're shared. Without the connection to others, they remain isolated and untested, never fully realized. Uranus exalted, the ultimate creative expression of interdependency, whether as God's will or global synthesis. Opinions that can express the value of being organized, whether mundane or spiritual. Uranus, the planet of innovation, revolution, and disruption, when exalted in Gate 17, line 5 represents a visionary creative force that seeks to transform systems and structures through interdependence. Uranus, in exaltation in 17.5, is the ultimate visionary who doesn't just have an opinion, but a divine or global vision. It's someone who can see how all the pieces of a system fit together, not just for personal gain, but for the greater good. Their opinion, their logic, holds the potential to create something bigger than themselves. What you see here is opinions that can express the value of being organized, whether mundane or spiritual. Ra Uruhu specifically outlines, I quote, "The greatest service of the logical process is to finally be able to allow everyone to have exactly their place in resonance. If everybody is in their place in resonance, everybody has a complete process, and the totality has a process far beyond that. This is an Aquarian process. That is why you have Uranus here that is establishing the exalted. We will have a very important transit of this, which will have an enormous impact, not in terms of when it happens. The most important thing to see about transits is that every time you look at a date in the ephemeris, remember that millions of babies are being born. The transit of Uranus through that gate, some years ago, will have an enormous impact because all those children carry Uranus in 17th gate, in Aries, as their genetic material. We will soon, in 10 to 15 years, have a whole new generation of adults that, from the very beginning, is open to this global synthesis, and they have been born all over the world, with Uranus in Gate 17, line 4. Meaning of Uranus, exalted in Gate 17, line 5, is about visionary leadership, the creative expression of interdependency, divine or global insight. 1. People with Uranus exalted in 17.5 have the ability to see connections in the world that others might miss. Their opinions aren't just based on logic, they're deeply creative, seeing the world as an interconnected system of ideas, people, and energies. These individuals often have global or spiritual insights about how the world can be organized or synthesized, and their ideas carry the potential to reshape the collective consciousness. This is the visionary leadership. 2. The key here with Uranu is interdependence. The ideas and opinions held by this individual are meant to connect people, systems, and realms together. They understand that no opinion, no system, no idea can exist in isolation. They have the potential to bring about synthesis, whether it's mundane, in terms of practical systems, or spiritual, in terms of the flow of energy and consciousness. Their logic is about how things work together, how to organize and connect. This is a creative expression of interdependency. 3. The opinions they offer are not just personal. They feel like they come from a higher universal place. They might feel that their opinions are connected to something greater, whether it's God's will or a global vision. They hold the potential to express ideas that can lead to massive transformation in the world or society. These individuals often have a sense of purpose in their opinions. They are not just sharing to be heard, but to elevate the collective. Uranus makes possible the divine or global insight. This line in exaltation operates based on organizing principles, on their influence through vision, taking into consideration a big picture perspective. 1. With Uranus exalted here, there is a natural gift for seeing how things should be organized. This could be in the practical world, e.g., systems, structures, technology, or in more abstract realms, e.g., global or spiritual synthesis. There is an innate ability to structure things in a way that allows for synergy and interconnectedness. 2. People with this placement often find themselves in positions where they are called upon to lead or organize others. They influence not just through logic, but through their visionary ability to see what's possible when all elements come together. Their opinions are powerful because they align with a larger purpose or global shift, often inspiring others to follow or understand their view. 3. These individuals aren't just concerned with the details. They see the big picture of how everything works together. Their opinions have the potential to unify disparate ideas and create something greater than the sum of its parts. They understand that interdependence is key. The ideas they hold and share are not meant to stand alone, but to connect and build something bigger. While Uranus is a planet of revolution and transformation, this can also create a disruptive force, real challenges for fifth line. People with this placement may challenge the status quo in a way that feels uncomfortable to others. Their ideas, although visionary, might be ahead of their time, leading to resistance or misunderstanding. The energy of Uranus can sometimes push individuals to forcefully impose their ideas on others, assuming that their global vision is the only path forward. This can lead to alienation or isolation if the influence is not balanced or understood by others. The desire for synthesis and interconnectedness might lead to an over-idealization of what can be achieved. If the ideas aren't grounded in practical reality, they could feel unrealistic or unattainable to those around them. As a final thought, Uranus exalted in 17.5 gives a transformational ability. This person doesn't just share opinions, they share a vision. Their logic and ideas are about the interconnection of the world, whether it's through mundane organization or spiritual synthesis. These individuals have the potential to bring about global change, but they need to balance their visionary ideas with practical reality to gain support from the collective. Mars in detriment. The arrogance, despite all the evidence to claim that the buck stops here. The possibility of opinions that refuse to see the value of being organized. Ra-Uruhu referred to this detriment, saying that, I quote, "We see this in the world today with what fundamentalism is, the last gasp against the globalization that homogenizes everything, the world where everything simply gets homogenized and brought together." There is a deep resistance to that. On the other side of the Uranian power is the old primitive resistance to being organized and it is the vanity to assume that where you belong in this life is up to you, not God's will, not global synthesis. The possibility of opinions that refuse to see the value of being organized. This is not good or bad, and these people are not the good guys or bad ones. This is about not being socially organized yet. We did not reach that point, and that's why there is always a specific tension here. There is a scale system that could measure the social possibilities of species based on some criteria. Ra Uru Hu said that the highest members of this social organization business are ants, termites, and wasps. These insects are very organized, but we are very different, with our enormous self-consciousness at work. But, indeed, we are heading towards the highest level of organization, which will really be fulfilled when we have spirit awareness, and we can create our consciousness outside of our forms. The idea is that this will not be done without resistance. What is coming is a genetic transformation. It is not about what you want it to be. There is happening, as we speak, a genetic transformation at work. But there will always be recessive genes. These will be the recessives, those who says, I refuse to be organized. They will fight being organized. It's already happening, this dilemma between those who are ready to be organized and those who refuse to be organized. This is a real political line for now and for the future. In order to universalize out of this fifth line, obviously, the pattern really has to work, whatever it will be. Mars in detriment is about arrogance and resistance to organization. Mars, the planet of action, assertion, and drive, when in detriment, carries a more challenging expression. In the context of Gate 17, Line 5, Mars in detriment indicates that the individual may struggle with impulsivity, pride, and refusing to acknowledge the value of structure or organization in their opinions. Mars in detriment in Line 5 has the energy to stand firm, but it's the wrong kind of firm. Instead of embracing the value of being organized, the value of organization and cooperation, they might hold on to their opinion as if it is the only truth. And even if evidence contradicts them, they'll dig in their heels, unwilling to see the bigger picture. With Mars in detriment, this line can dig in its heels, holding on to its opinions and asserting that the buck stops here, even when evidence or contrary logic suggests otherwise. There can be an arrogance in their opinion. They may believe that their stance is the final authority, refusing to acknowledge the value of other perspectives or organizational systems. They may have a tendency to assert dominance over ideas, even if those ideas are incomplete or flawed. The challenge here is that Mars in detriment tends to have a rebellious, defiant energy. Rather than seeing the importance of structure, organization, and cooperation, the individual might reject these qualities in favor of independent action or individual opinion. This leads to a kind of disorganization. They may resist the idea that opinions need to be organized or tested with the group or system. Instead, they may insist that their opinion is the only one that matters, without appreciating the necessary structure that could support its credibility or application. When Mars is in detriment, there's often a tendency toward stubbornness and conflict. The individual may hold their opinion so strongly that they become unwilling to engage with new ideas or alternative viewpoints. This can create tension with others, especially in situations where there is a need for collaboration or shared structure. Their approach can be combative, as they may resist being corrected or guided by the input of others. This line has a certain way of operating in real life when Mars is here. It's about conflict-driven opinions, disorganized leadership, impatience, and impulsivity. This can play out at different levels, such as opinions from someone with Mars in detriment in Line 5 might feel combative or defensive. Rather than being open to the validity of other opinions, they may become entrenched in their own view, unwilling to engage in dialogue or compromise. As the personnel manager, this person may try to lead or influence others, but their leadership style might be disorganized. Their defiance or resistance to structure can create confusion within a group. They may have strong opinions, but lack the ability to organize them in a way that others can follow or that makes sense in the long term. Mars in detriment also brings an impatient energy. This person might want things to happen now without taking the time to organize or test their opinions. Their drive for immediate results can make them overlook important details, processes, or the value of having a well thought out, structured approach. A person with 17.5 in detriment might face some challenges. There's a deep resistance to acknowledging feedback or evidence that contradicts their opinion. The person might argue with facts, not willing to admit their stance could be flawed. This can create significant conflict with others who try to present evidence or alternative viewpoints. Their refusal to acknowledge the value of being organized means they may disconnect from the larger collective needs. Their opinion could lack the grounding that's needed to help organize or contribute to a larger system. They may see themselves as an island, disconnected from the broader effort to create something meaningful. The strong need to assert independence can result in a lack of collaboration. Rather than seeking others' opinions to test or build upon their ideas, they may reject input from others entirely, which limits the potential for growth or refinement. As a final thought, Mars in detriment in Gate 17, Line 5 is about stubbornness, conflict, and resistance to structure. The person with this placement might find it difficult to organize their opinions or accept the value of systems and structure. Their arrogance and refusal to engage with other perspectives can limit their ability to truly connect with others or produce something lasting. The key challenge here is to open up to feedback and see that opinions, even powerful ones, need to be grounded in organization and collaboration in order to be truly effective. Gate 17, Line 6, the Bodhisattva. Perfected following, one with and the same as, perfected leading. Ra Uru Hu often described Gate 17, Line 6, as the Bodhisattva. For a few key reasons, I will try to share what I know. The Bodhisattva in Buddhist philosophy is someone who has attained enlightenment, but chooses to remain in the world to help others reach that same level of awakening. Similarly, people with Gate 17, Line 6, have had their opinions refined and tested over time. They have developed a deep understanding of how to share opinions that are not just logical, but serve the collective good. These individuals are here to lead by example and to offer opinions that have a deep spiritual or universal foundation. The wisdom of Line 6 comes from the fact that these opinions have been tested by experience. Ra would say that these individuals are not just sharing opinions for the sake of it. They have lived through the challenges that come with having strong opinions. Their opinions have been shaped and validated by life experiences, which is why they can be trusted. They may have gone through a process of trial and error, observation, and self-reflection that allows their opinions to be taken seriously. By the time someone reaches Line 6, we have to point out that their opinions are no longer impulsive or untested. They are mature, having evolved over time. The individual in this line has been through the necessary phases of learning, growing, and testing their ideas and beliefs. Because of this, their opinions have a level of authority and respect that is earned through experience and wisdom. The wisdom here is about applying logic in a way that serves not just personal interests, but also contributes to the greater good. A key aspect of Gate 17, Line 6, is that the opinions of these individuals have the potential to unify and synthesize different perspectives. People with this line can bring together disparate viewpoints and create harmony within the collective. Their opinions help organize the larger flow of ideas into something comprehensible, structured, and beneficial for the group. Their opinions can be a guiding light, helping others see the connections between ideas that might otherwise seem disconnected. We can describe this line as being about compassionate leadership. The Bodhisattva chooses to stay in the world to help others, just as the person with Gate 17, Line 6, feels called to share their wisdom for the benefit of others. These individuals may have a natural desire to help or to influence through their opinions, not because they want to assert authority, but because they want to serve and uplift the collective. Their role is to help guide others on their own paths of understanding. We know that sixth line is a role model, and from this perspective, there is a certain expression of this line in real life, in the world. 1. People with this placement have the ability to be a role model for others. They lead by example, living in a way that reflects the wisdom and depth of their opinions. Others look up to them because their views are grounded in reality and experience, making them trustworthy and reliable. 2. These individuals express their opinions from a place of maturity. The final authority of line 6 is not just about being right. It's about having opinions that have been tested by life and have survived the rigors of time. These opinions are not hastily formed. They are deeply grounded in experience. It's time to quote Ra'uruhu. The Bodhisattva is quite a role. The capacity is truly there. But again, like all 6 lines, which are transition lines, 2 things are always there in the transition. One is this sense of not giving what you are, not giving understanding because it is not worthwhile. You want something much greater than that. You want to see everything organized. It is not enough just to understand. You want to see it immediately implemented so you can see all of that organized. That is what is interesting for this 6th line. Most of the time, the understanding does not necessarily come out because there is this immediate recognition, no energy, that it is not going to be able to get organized. Now we understand from this quote that opinions held by individuals with this placement can be seen as part of a larger synthesis of thought. They have the ability to bring together ideas from varied sources and create a harmonious whole. Their logic serves to help organize and synthesize the collective understanding, often guiding others through complex issues. Similar to the Bodhisattva's role in Buddhism, these individuals have the potential to be enlightened guides for the collective. They share opinions not just to be heard, but to help others evolve in their understanding, both individually and collectively. Their wisdom and experience make their opinions particularly valuable, and their desire is to uplift others through this wisdom. While Gate 17, line 6, holds a deep wisdom, we have to note some potential challenges. 1. Heavy responsibility. The role of the Bodhisattva is not an easy one. These individuals may feel the weight of responsibility in offering their opinions and may struggle with the pressure to always be right or to lead others. They may question whether their opinions are truly helping or whether they are being misinterpreted. 2. Isolation. Because their opinions are so refined and mature, they may find themselves isolated or misunderstood by those who are still in earlier stages of development. There can be a distance between their perspective and the perspective of others, which might make them feel like they stand alone. 3. Over-identification with being right. There's a potential for over-identification with being the final authority on a matter, which could lead to rigidity or an unwillingness to acknowledge that new experiences or evidence may evolve their understanding. As a final thought, I quote Ra'uruhu for you to ponder the opposition of 17.6 with 18.6. He said, in the 18.6, we have Buddhahood, the spoiled one. Here, the Bodhisattva is the spoiled one. If no one is there, waiting for their pronouncement, they get very upset. They really understand what is good for everybody, and they expect everybody to be there. By the way, they just might. That is the other side of it. The end of quote. Before analyzing exaltation and detriment, please remember briefly that Gate 17, line 6, is described as the Bodhisattva line because these individuals hold mature, tested opinions that have the power to guide and influence others. They are role models for others through their ability to synthesize ideas and share wisdom. Just as the Bodhisattva remains in the world to assist others in their spiritual journey, these individuals are here to share their opinions for the benefit of the collective, offering guidance and direction with compassion and wisdom. Moon exalted, perfected following, one with and the same as perfected leading. The great nurturer. The nature of this position is always positive, including the detriment. Jupiter in detriment. The tendency on the perfected path that it is a straight line that ends rather than a circle. In the White Book, the possibility in understanding the nature of interdependence to express opinions of value to others. But the fact that it is a possibility does not mean that you will do it. This is the kind of being that is not going to share their opinion with you if they don't think that you will not do anything about it. The right way for asking their opinion is, give me your opinion and tell me what to do. The role is to organize. If somebody comes to them and says, please tell me what I should do, they are ready because the organization can take place. Let me organize you. But if they can't organize the people, then they don't do it. They don't share opinions. They do not pronounce themselves. One of the things about these people is that they are often deeply attractive because they don't offer you the understanding unless you ask them, unless you go to them, unless you express a need for that. When the moon is exalted in gate 17, line 6, this brings a nurturing and positive influence to how opinions are expressed. The moon, symbolizing emotions, intuition, and the subconscious, is exalted here, meaning it brings out the best qualities of the moon's energy in a person's ability to offer opinions in a way that is supportive, compassionate, and nurturing. There are some key aspects of moon exalted in gate 17, line 6, and it's worth to be explored. 1. The great nurturer. The moon's exaltation in this line brings a caring and supportive quality to the opinions expressed. These individuals may not only offer logical opinions, but their views will also have a nurturing impact on others. Their opinions are not just intellectually sound, but also come from a place of empathy, understanding, and a desire to help others grow. The individual might feel a deep responsibility to nurture others by guiding them with wisdom and insight. 2. Always positive nature. Moon exalted brings a positive energy to the individual's expression. In gate 17, line 6, this means that the opinions shared are uplifting, optimistic, and meant to support others. The opinions are grounded in a belief that interdependency is the key to thriving and that unity and connection are essential for collective growth. This placement ensures that the person is inclined to see the best in others and to offer opinions that serve the greater good. 3. Understanding interdependency. The exalted moon. In this line, helps the individual understand that opinions are not just personal thoughts, they are part of a larger web of interconnectedness. These individuals may have an innate understanding that all opinions should be shared, tested, and refined in ways that benefit the group. Their ability to nurture these opinions and express them with compassion creates a harmonious environment where everyone's voice can be heard and valued. 4. Expressing opinions of value to others. With the moon exalted, these individuals can articulate opinions that have genuine value for others. Their views are not just logically sound, they are empathetic and inclusive, offering perspectives that consider the well-being of the collective. The opinions shared are both informed by experience and grounded in emotional intelligence, ensuring that they resonate on a deep human level. 5. Supportive and harmonizing influence. Because of the moon's influence, the individual with this placement has the ability to harmonize opposing ideas and perspectives. They understand that opinions are not meant to create division, but to create understanding. Their nurturing approach encourages the flow of ideas and promotes collective growth, mutual respect, and shared wisdom. How moon exalted in gate 17, line 6 impacts expression is an aspect that we see in the real lives of people with this line. Let's see if you recognize some of these qualities and expressions. 1. These individuals are leaders who don't just lead through authority, but through empathy and understanding. They are the kind of leaders who listen, who consider the emotional needs of the group, and who use their opinions to create a safe space for others to contribute. Ra would describe them as someone who is able to inspire and uplift others with their nurturing energy. 2. The moon's exaltation brings an intuitive quality to the person's ability to express opinions. They are not just logical, their insights come from a deep emotional understanding of people and situations. This gives them the ability to read the room, recognize what is needed emotionally, and offer opinions that are both emotionally resonant and intellectually sound. 3. These individuals have a gift for creating unity, creating a sense of belonging. Because of their deep understanding of interdependence, they are able to express opinions that make people feel that they are part of something greater. Their approach fosters community and emphasizes the importance of working together, making their opinions valuable for creating shared understanding and collaboration. 4. With the moon exalted, there is often a healing quality to the way these individuals express their opinions, manifesting as healing influence. When they speak, their words have the ability to soothe and comfort others, helping people to heal or find peace in challenging situations. Their opinions might help others make sense of emotional or spiritual turmoil, guiding them toward more balanced, peaceful states. While Moon exalted in line 6 brings a nurturing, positive energy, there are still some potential challenges that you may be aware of. The desire to care for others can sometimes lead to over-nurturing. The individual might focus too much on making everyone feel comfortable and supported, potentially at the expense of firmness or clarity in their opinions. They may avoid offering strong opinions that might be discomforting to others, even when those opinions are necessary. The emotional depth brought by the moon exalted can also be a double-edged sword. Sometimes the individual may become overwhelmed by the emotional needs of others and feel that their opinions are not enough to help or nurture everyone. The weight of responsibility can feel heavy if they feel emotionally drained by others' needs. Because their opinions come from a deeply intuitive and emotional place, others might misinterpret their guidance as being too soft or non-committal. There is the potential for misalignment between the person's intentions to nurture and others' expectations for strong, logical, or directive opinions. Jupiter in detriment. The tendency on the perfected path, it is a straight line that ends rather than a circle. Where understanding is achieved, the possibility of having the opinion that there is nothing else to learn. When Jupiter is in detriment in gate 17, line 6, it introduces a tendency for the individual to believe they have reached the end of the journey in terms of understanding. This detriment represents overconfidence and a narrow view of knowledge, the belief that once understanding has been achieved, there is nothing more to learn. Jupiter is the planet associated with expansion, growth, beliefs, and philosophical understanding. When it is in detriment, especially here in gate 17, line 6, it can create a mindset where the individual may close themselves off to further learning and insight once they have achieved a certain level of understanding. This placement is often characterized by the belief that the path is complete, when in reality, the process of understanding is more circular than linear. Here we have people who are astrologers, palm readers, or whatever mystical and esoteric field. They always have the same response. I don't need to understand anything else. I have this. There is always that aspect to them as well. The tendency on the perfected path, and you think that this is it. Organization of society, in both collective processes, depends on mutation. This mutation will change the way in which we organize. This change comes through the way we will reproduce. Here is where mutation will produce deep consequences. It will make it very difficult for our species to reproduce. It will force us to be organized. This will come out of mutation. Once there is something new, that whole process on both sides, logic and sensing collective processes, has to go through an organizational transformation in order to try to come to grips with what the new is. Ra Uru Hu said that the resonance here is in the 5th line because this line is going to be ready. The Uranian generation will be ready to cooperate in order to keep the species alive. End of quote. Now, let's think to the tendency towards a linear path as a first aspect of this detriment. Jupiter in detriment can make someone with this placement feel that once they have achieved a certain level of understanding, there is no need to expand further. This is a tendency towards seeing their journey of knowledge as a straight line that reaches a definite end. The individual may feel that once they have found what works, they have reached the final point of the process and see no need for further exploration. This might create a feeling that they have perfected their understanding, but in truth, knowledge is always evolving. I would describe this as the danger of stagnation. When the individual becomes overconfident in their opinions and stops exploring new insights or possibilities. Also, Jupiter in detriment is about believing that there's nothing else to learn. This is a second value of this position. With Jupiter in detriment, there's the potential for the individual to hold an opinion that there's nothing left to learn after reaching a certain point. They may become convinced that their current understanding is the final truth, dismissing further questioning or alternative views. The Bodhisattva energy of line 6, which is meant to continuously grow and evolve its understanding, might be hindered by a belief that they have already achieved complete understanding, which can limit their growth. This is a natural consequence of Jupiter's energy. It's expansive and wants to continue growing, but in detriment, it can lead to a narrow view where the person feels that they've mastered the subject and no longer need to question or expand. The third idea to be touched upon, the straight line path versus circular understanding. Understanding is not a straight line, it's a circle, an ongoing process of growth and integration. The straight line path implies a final destination, but true wisdom is about continuously revisiting and refining one's opinions and perspectives. Individuals with this placement may experience a moment of clarity or insight where they feel they've reached the pinnacle of their journey. But this can be misleading, as wisdom is often about ongoing refinement and further layers of understanding. In this sixth line, Jupiter in detriment brings the danger of overconfidence. It can lead to an overestimation of one's knowledge. The individual might feel they have mastered a subject, but this overconfidence can make them resistant to new ideas or feedback from others. They may also stop seeking out additional learning or alternative perspectives, which can leave them stagnant in their thinking. The risk is that they might miss opportunities for growth because they are unwilling to challenge their existing beliefs or admit that there might be more to learn. In real life, someone with this placement may have a tendency to dismiss new ideas or perspectives because they feel they've already reached a certain level of understanding. They may be quick to judge others' opinions as inferior or unnecessary because they believe they have already perfected the right path. This detriment can play out like a resistance to change. The individual might resist change or innovation in their thinking, clinging to fixed beliefs that they think are unchangeable. This can cause them to miss out on fresh insights or innovative approaches that could improve or expand their ideas. The belief that there is no more to learn can lead to mental stagnation. The individual may no longer seek out challenges or situations where their views are tested, leaving them stuck in a comfort zone where growth is limited. I am sure that you can overcome the challenges of this detrimental position if you stay open to new perspectives and feedback from others. You might revisit concepts or ideas and refine them further over time. Cultivate curiosity, keep an open mind, and remain curious about the world around you. Now let's move on to a different perspective to see how the 17th gate sustains or communicates the purpose of life through the crosses of incarnation that are established when the conscious sun is placed within the 17th hexagram. Right angle, cross of service, consisting of following gates: 17, 18, 58, 52. People with a logical understanding of what it means to be human, moved by dissatisfaction to focus on correcting, reorganizing, and serving humanity. Your cross brings 4 logical energies together. The lead energy is opinion. With opinion energy, there is a great drive to correct and organize things so you can live a healthy, longer, and more joyful life. You serve people through the logical energies of guidance, organization, and correction. There may be a drive to feel as if you are a healer, but it is important to understand that you are the guide, and each person must take their own steps to truly heal. Juxtaposition, cross of opinions, consisting of following gates: 17, 18, 38, 39. People who provoke you to expose, examine your spirit or your purpose, whose wealth of opinions are easily shared but not easily argued with. You are here to give opinions. Not all of your opinions are going to be popular, and you are not always going to be right. But your opinions are important to help correct behavior and implement logical process to bring more joy to life. Because being opinionated is how you were designed, it is important for you to remember that in relationship, you will need to be with someone who is comfortable with how freely you express your opinions. Left angle cross of upheaval, consisting of following gates: 17, 18, 38, 39. Great button pushers, always sticking their finger in the pie to disturb the status quo in preparation for corrections needed to redirect humanity or individuals in healthy directions. With your cross, your purpose is to get your hands dirty, muck about, and stir things up. You bring the energy to poke at stagnate issues and inspire evaluation, correction, and refinement. This energy can create some tension, as not everyone wishes for their issues to be stirred up. I hope this material is helpful and supporting for the development of your human design knowledge. Please share if you enjoyed listening, and subscribe if you want to be notified about any new posting of informative, learning materials regarding human design. Thank you.